You might have noticed that electric vehicles, EVs for short, has become quite a hot topic in our lives. This month, I went to the China International Automobile Exposition, and it really got me how most of it was taken up by EVs. This is how fast its sales have been growing. However, the authorities seem to still know very little about these electric vehicles that are currently roaming our streets. Imagine this. When you step into an EV, 97% of the passengers only notice two things: the touchscreen and the acceleration. However, today I want to take you on a journey beneath the leather seats, through the floor mats, into one of the most transformative engineering masterpieces of our era, the chassis. This 25-centimeter thick platform is rewriting automotive DNA. First of all, I assume most of you don't have a clear picture of what a chassis is like, so here are two pictures. The left one is a traditional car and the right one is an EV. You can see that in a traditional EV, there's the fuel tank, transmission, exhaust system, etc. Whereas in an electric EV, there's basically just one thing: the battery. Now you might be wondering, how can a single battery support the whole thing? And this is actually one of the most ingenious ideas you could come up with. You see, we're used to cars carrying their engines like backpacks, but what if power isn't just power, it's structure? This is actually what every EV is doing right now. Take Tesla's structural battery pack as an example. Each 4680 cell isn't just storing energy, it's a load-bearing pillar. And you can relate this to human bones. Your bones are the structures of your body, but also they're storing minerals. And believe it or not, this single battery brings the rigidity equivalent to adding 12 steel crossbars. Now, another advantage of using a whole battery as a chassis is that it brings a perfect front-rear balance. Porsche have been chasing the 50-50 front-rear balance for 70 years, and EVs, they're born with it. So now you might ask, why is 50-50 the holy grail? Well, as we all know, during rotation, both the front axles and the rear axles bear centripetal force. And as we've learned in physics class, centripetal force is related to mass. In this case, it's decided by where your center of gravity is. For instance, if your center of gravity shifts towards the front of your car, then the front of your car will bear more centripetal force, meaning that it will rotate more than you'd like. And this we call oversteering. Now, the opposite situation, as you can imagine, is called understeering, which means that your car won't turn as much as you'd like. Now, both these two situations make the car more difficult to drive. But if you achieve a 50-50 balance, then the car is much easier to drive. So now you might think that EV chassis are brilliant, way better than traditional chassis. But the truth is, there are still some technical problems to be solved. It is truly an ingenious idea using the battery as a chassis, but what if you scrape your chassis? Your battery could be directly damaged. And this is not a joke, because already many EV owners have experienced it. And believe me, your wallet wouldn't like it. You might have noticed that EV chassis have way lower heights than traditional chassis. Why is that? Well, in an EV chassis, we usually use a short travel suspension to achieve a higher stiffness and a lower center of gravity. But this comes at a cost of limiting the chassis height. So it is a question of what to take and what to give. And for now, EV companies haven't found a good solution to balance these two things. Here's something else to think about. Most people think that EVs are eco-friendly because they run on electricity, and this is not technically wrong. But have you ever thought about, what do we do with all those spent batteries? Recycle them, that's the obvious answer, but the thing is, we've still got a long way to go in recycling batteries. Study shows that by 2030, The global spend of LIBs will reach 2 million tons per year, and that is an extremely large number. But the current situation is only less than 5% of LIBs are actually collected and recycled. So why is there such a big gap between the numbers? Well, firstly, when companies design the batteries, they think about safety, energy density, but they don't think about how to make them easier to recycle because they're not responsible for recycling batteries. However, this does make recycling batteries more difficult. Also, different companies use different kinds of batteries. For example, Tesla uses 4680 cells, while BYD uses blade cells, and they're not even made up of the same thing, although they have the same minerals. So, obviously, you need different methods to recycle different batteries, and this leads to a raise in cost. Which brings us to the third problem, commercial problems. Nowadays, most commercial recycling processes profit from recycling the cathode materials in the batteries. However, codium, which is the most expensive cathode material in the battery, is intentionally being used less and less. This means that it is necessary and urgent for recycling companies to start searching new ways to recycle batteries as to raise profits. Now, after listening to so much, I hope that you've got a clearer picture of what an EV chassis is like. The invisible revolution of the chassis isn't just about the shift from gasoline to electricity. It's a fundamental transformation in modern engineering. And EV chassis is a bold step forward. Whatever its advantages and disadvantages, EVs seem to be becoming an unstoppable trend. So all we can do is embrace it and try to cross the pitfalls. I believe that we're heading for a future where our streets are not only powered by electricity, but also designed with wisdom and foresight. Thank you.